You know, when you hear the phrase made in Italy, what comes to mind? For most of us, it's luxury, it's quality, it's this timeless style. But here's the thing. Behind that amazing global brand, there's a quiet tragedy unfolding in the historic towns and workshops of Italy. So let's peel back the curtain and find out what's really going on. This is the picture, right? The one we all see. The glamorous runways, the beautiful furniture, designs that literally set the bar for the rest of the world. It's a brand that represents excellence, worth billions and billions of dollars. But if you actually walk through the ancient towns that were once the beating heart of all this craftsmanship, you see something completely different. You see shuttered doors, dusty windows, and workshops that have just gone silent. Forever. And this number, well, it tells the whole story. Since 1980, Italy has lost almost half of its manufacturing artisan businesses. That is a staggering decline, and it's about so much more than just a loss of money. So what does that percentage actually mean? We're talking about almost 200,000 workshops. Think about that. Each one was like a living library of knowledge, passed down from generation to generation. And now, it's just gone. Now, to really get to the bottom of this crisis, we've got to be specific about who is disappearing. See, the word artisan gets thrown around a lot, and the real story gets kind of lost in the headlines. A lot of reports just lump all artisans into one big group, but as you can see here, the sector is made up of very different parts. The real crisis is happening in that 25% slice, the manufacturing artisans. So while builders and service providers are doing okay, the actual creators are the ones who are vanishing. So let's be crystal clear. We're not talking about plumbers or hairdressers here, as important as they are. We are talking about the very soul of made in Italy. The masters who shape glass, who weave textiles, who craft ceramics by hand. They're the ones whose legacy is literally hanging by a thread. And this didn't just happen overnight, not at all. After a golden age following the war, the first cracks started to show with globalization. But then, from the 2008 financial crisis on, it turned into a full-on collapse, and it's been getting worse with every single economic shock since. So, what's behind all this? What's causing this collapse? Well, it's not just one thing. It's more like a perfect storm of 5 huge structural problems, 5 culprits that have been slowly taking this incredible heritage apart piece by piece. First up, there's been this huge cultural shift. For decades, Italian society has basically told its kids, go to university, get a degree. Manual trades were seen as, well, something less. And the results? You have a country with more lawyers than plumbers. I mean, that alone tells you how much society started to devalue the very skills that built its reputation. And that leads us right to problem number 2, a demographic time bomb. Just look at this imbalance. It's absolutely wild. Over 60% of artisans are over 50 years old, and under 30, a tiny 3.3%. So who's going to take over? There's nobody in the pipeline. When this generation retires, all that knowledge just vanishes with them. The third culprit is what you could call death by 1,000 cuts. Just an absolute mountain of bureaucracy, tax laws that seem to change every other week, energy costs through the roof, and sky-high rents in the historic city centers where these workshops need to be. It's become a total nightmare just to keep the lights on. Fourth, and this is a big one, is the Amazon effect. The whole world basically shifted its priorities. We, as consumers, now want everything fast and cheap. This kind of throwaway culture is the exact opposite of the slow, careful, quality-first world of a master artisan. And the final blow? Well, this one's a real gut punch. Counterfeiting. Get this, an insane 80% of the so-called Murano glass you see in Venetian tourist shops. It's fake. It's imported from somewhere else. How can a real artisan possibly compete with that on price? They can't. Okay, so we've seen the causes, but what about the consequences? Because this goes way, way beyond just business closures. We're talking about a systemic crisis that's threatening the very identity of Italy. What's really at stake here? Well, Italy is on the verge of losing its memory, that physical link to its own history. It's risking a tourism industry that is built on authenticity. Those beautiful historic towns, they could become hollowed-out shells. And in the end, the Made in Italy brand itself could just become an empty slogan. I mean, without real, working artisans, these incredible historic centers, they risk becoming just empty theme parks. They become these beautiful Disneylands of a culture that used to be there, selling mass-produced trinkets to tourists who don't know any better. But look, this story doesn't have to end here. The situation is dire, yeah, but it's not hopeless. There's actually a clear, actionable path forward for a real revival. The solution really stands on 4 key pillars. First, a cultural shift to make these crafts prestigious again. Second, smarter financial and bureaucratic help. Third, modernizing the craft with technology, but without losing its soul. And fourth, weaving craftsmanship back into national policy and tourism strategies. And one of the coolest ideas on the table is the Bottega Scuola, which basically means workshop school. Regions like Tuscany and Veneto are already trying this. It officially recognizes these masters as teachers, and it gives them real incentives to take on apprentices. This way, the skills get passed down directly, hand to hand, right where the magic happens. And, reviving tradition doesn't mean we have to fight against the future, not at all. Technology can be an incredible ally. E-commerce can connect a tiny workshop in a small town to a customer in Tokyo. 3D printing can help create complex designs. Digital marketing can tell the amazing story behind every single piece. So, all of this brings us to the final critical choice. Italy right now is standing at a crossroads, and it's facing a decision that's going to define its future.
It really comes down to this. Is Italy going to be a living, breathing culture where new masterpieces are still being made every day? Or is it going to become a beautiful museum, just preserving the relics of a glorious past that isn't alive anymore? Because what's at stake here is just so clear. This isn't just about businesses failing. As this quote says so powerfully, if the last craftsman closes his workshop, it's a betrayal of 1,000 years of history and beauty, a heritage that once it's gone can never, ever be brought back.